Coming up on PAC News, temperatures are dropping to almost freezing.
I'm Jillian Odo, and I'll have some tips on how you can prepare for the cold weather.
Louisiana is gearing up for a runoff election for governor this Saturday. But what else is on the ballot for Orleans Parish? We'll walk you through what the words on your ballot really mean. Plus, recaps of some of the biggest football rivalry games of the season. Good afternoon and thanks for joining us. I'm Erin Snodgrass.
And I'm Andres Fuentes and you're watching PAC News. Southeast Louisiana is approaching what could be the first freeze of the season. Today, the New Orleans area will see highs of 48 degrees, and overnight, some parts of the area could reach freezing temperatures. City officials are now warning residents that, like hurricane season, preparations for winter weather need to be taken. Reporter Jillian Odo has more.
I'm live inside a local hardware store where residents have been coming and preparing for the freeze. The most popular items have been faucet covers and pipe covers. And as you can see here, most of them are gone. They did say they were going to restock, so they were prepared for this cold weather. The city of New Orleans sent out a reminder encouraging people to prepare for this cold weather coming up. The city said to stay inside during extreme cold, layer up when going outside, like adding a hat and gloves. And most people might have gotten their space heaters out last night. The fire department suggests to keep space heaters away from flammable objects and to never leave them unattended. I'm Jillian Odo, PAC News.
Voters throughout the state will head to the polls this Saturday to decide on a number of issues, from who the governor will be to several local policies. Current Democratic Governor John Bel Edwards is in a runoff against Republican businessman Eddie Rispone.
This election comes after neither candidate was able to win a majority of the vote back in October. President Donald Trump has done rounds in Louisiana during this election, visiting Monroe and making plans to visit Bossier City this week. Through his visits and an onslaught of tweets, Trump has endorsed Rispone and expressed disdain for Edwards, the only Democratic governor in the Deep South.
Voters in Orleans Parish will also be deciding on a number of local issues.
The First Amendment would create a local human rights commission. If the amendment passes, the city would have its own division focused just on fighting discrimination. They will handle human rights and discrimination complaints.
The ballot also includes a proposed special property tax that would fund infrastructure repairs and technology throughout the city. If passed, residents would pay $3 for every $1,000 of taxable property for the next 20 years, beginning January 1st, 2020.
And voters have to decide on whether to raise the tax on rent for short-term rental properties, like Airbnbs. The policy on the ballot proposes an additional 6.75% tax, which is an 8% increase. The proceeds will fund infrastructure.
And finally, the ballot includes a proposition that, if approved, would let the city issue up to $500 million in bonds to fund infrastructure improvements, recreational facilities, and affordable housing. The Secretary of State's office says nearly 500,000 voters across Louisiana have already cast their ballots in early voting.
The Urban League of Louisiana helped provide college students a ride to the polls for the last day of early voting. Shadira Moore has the story.
This party bus isn't headed to a New Orleans nightclub. It's on its way to the polls. University students got a free ride in style to New Orleans City Hall, one of the 4 designated early voting locations in Orleans Parish. A push by the Urban League of Louisiana to get millennials to cast their ballots. All right, so you drive that lovely party bus over there?
Yes, ma'am.
So, is this your first time doing something like this, transporting voters?
Nah, actually every year we do it because we try to get youngsters to come out and vote, try to change the youth, and let them see voting is very important because they have a lot to do with our city, our environment, our culture.
Caitlin McGruder is one of several student leaders with a laser focus on mobilizing 90s babies.
Millennials are just going to keep getting older and we're going to keep growing, and we need to make decisions for us as we get older.
With free busing, the Millennials Voter Engagement Initiative, or MOVE, is addressing one of the barriers to young voter turnout, a lack of access to transportation. But they're also trying to address voter apathy.
It's all just about like taking the time to speak your mind and to want something for your community and then to do what you have to do to make it happen.
I would say that every drop of water in the bucket counts. And so maybe we didn't have the entire college campus show out, but every vote matters, and I voted.
The general election takes place on November 16th. Shadera Moore, PAC News.
And to find out where you can vote on Election Day, you can search online at voterpoll.sos.la.gov. New Orleans gets a D rating by housing authority advocacy groups. Its inability to provide sustainable, affordable housing.
Tess Rowland joins us in the studio to tell us how one program is helping put roofs over people's heads.
Crescent City Community Land Trust could provide hope and new affordable housing options to the city. The group's plan would allow residents to pay for just the home itself and not the land it sits on. This keeps the home affordable and gives new homeowners equity in years to come. This plan could be a lifeline for one Holly Grove resident who says she can no longer afford her home.
My kids were raised right across the street.
Adinus Perkins lives on the same street she raised her children, but can't seem to call it home.
And I still feel homeless in New Orleans because it is unaffordable.
Adinus is one of the many New Orleans residents struggling to find affordable housing options in Orleans Parish.
I have a $961 a month Social Security check. So my rent is $850. I have $150 left. It basically covers the electric.
A price Adinus was not used to paying for rent in her Holly Grove neighborhood.
Before Katrina, this same structure, it cost about $325.
75% of the rental market rented at below $500 in New Orleans before Katrina hit.
And now, 14 years later,
those apartments have been replaced with apartments starting at $750 and going up to $1,500.
Working at the minimum wage of $7.25 an hour, New Orleanians would have to work 92 hours a week just to afford a one-bedroom apartment priced at $837 a month.
Since last year, we lost more affordable housing. The city and state agencies that create affordable housing, that create subsidized housing, actually went negative last year.
Leaving residents like Adinus feeling,
I'm just sad all the time.
We talked to Councilman Joe Giarrusso from Adinus's district, who says he's sympathetic to the housing challenges, but
New Orleans East and Algiers, for example, have a lot of surplus, but we don't have enough transportation to get people to those places. So if people are forced to pick between an hour and a half on a bus or spending more on their rent, frequently they're choosing the latter.
As for Adinus, she plans to move back into a duplex her mother owns and pay a cheaper rent, but she's concerned for others in her community.
I have cried and I have mourned a city that I love and cannot afford to live in.
After a historic victory over Bama, the Tigers get ready to take on Ole Miss. Roche has more in sports.
Plus, a look at a first-of-its-kind reenactment that marched through the French Quarter.
Dad?
Just 1 minute, okay?
Hey, Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Do clouds take naps?
I couldn't tell you.
Can birds draw pictures?
I don't have an answer for that.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
Loyola has reached its Faith in the Future fundraising goal. Reporter Lily Cummings has the details live.
The Faith in the Future campaign began 8 years ago, and they've raised over $100 million. Now, $68 million of that went towards scholarships and $500,000 towards the J. Michael Early Studio on the 4th floor of the Mass Communication Building. On Thursday, they'll be celebrating this campaign with Mass at noon, and then tours of the J. Michael Early Studio at 12:30, followed by a reception and second line. Now, whether or not that reception and second line will be outdoors or not is yet to be seen with these chilly temps and wind. But if you want to stay warm or can't make it, you can catch it on Loyola's Facebook page live. Reporting live in front of Miller Hall, I'm Lily Cummings. Back to you all in the studio.
All right, thanks, Lily. Hundreds of actors recreated a 19th century slave riot, starting from St. John Parish and ending in Congo Square. The two-day march was from artist Dred Scott's latest project, where he reenacted the historic 1811 riot that took the same route. The original riot never made it to New Orleans, but here's how some of the actors felt about making their journey.
It was a powerful message that we brought.
To know even what they went through in 1811 is unbelievable.
Even though we did walk their path and honored them and, reflect on that moment, they didn't have some of the things that we had. Maybe we're finishing the journey that they started.
Now I really get the understanding of weight in the water.
I feel very full, proud, inspired, empowered.
If we take a page from what they did, what can we do now?
Back then, they didn't have no freedom. Now we got it.
The original slave riot was the largest ever recorded in American history.
Up next, how the Saints are coping with their loss to the Falcons.
And a recap of LSU's big victory this past Saturday.
Me and my boy Matt had it good. He had catnip that was off the hook. But one day, he brings a girl home, and she's allergic to cats. Every sneeze was a nail in my coffin. Now I'm in a shelter. It's decent, but they don't even have Wi-Fi.
Good afternoon, I'm Roche Gibson and this is PAC Sports. The LSU Tigers are traveling to Mississippi this weekend to face Ole Miss after coming off their impressive victory over Alabama, a game where both the President and First Lady were in attendance. Anyone who looked forward to this year's most anticipated game wasn't disappointed. They witnessed the shootout that resulted in the Tigers winning 46-41 over the Crimson Tide, a win that ends LSU's 8-game losing streak versus the team dating back to 2012. Quarterback Joe Burrow recorded 393 passing yards with 3 touchdowns, while running back Clyde Edwards-Helaire had 180 all-purpose yards and 4 touchdowns. After defeating the Crimson Tide, the Tigers are now on top of the SEC West and remain number 1 in the AP College Football poll. The Pelicans were handed their 8th loss of the season at home last night as they faced the Houston Rockets in the Smoothie King Center. The Pels took on dynamic Houston stars Russell Westbrook and James Harden and were riding the momentum from their victory over Charlotte Hornets on Sunday night. However, this didn't prove to be enough as the team lost the matchup versus Houston 122-116. Guard J.J. Redick led the Pels with 24 points, and Drew Holiday was 1 rebound off of a triple-double as the team fell to 2-8 on the season. The Pelicans now prepare to face Kawhi Leonard and the Los Angeles Clippers on Thursday night at 8. With the fall weather now here and temperatures continuing to cool down, you may have noticed more NOLA residents getting outside. Reporter Sam Lucio tells us more.
Hitting the pavement in mid-city, people are getting out and getting active.
I was at work today all day, and all I've been looking at is outside and how I want to go for a run. I actually ran in Audubon Park yesterday, and it was like hard to pass people. It was just on every side of the street there was people.
The New Orleans Running and Walking Club is just one outlet that provides residents the opportunity to see the sights while also getting fit.
When the fall hits and we get over some of that summer humidity and heat, people will definitely start to show up. It's a lot easier to run.
While running in cooler weather is easier on the body, and more people run in the fall to train for winter races, some people start running and join groups just for the social aspect.
This is probably one of the biggest groups I've seen all year, I guess. So it's a great way to meet new people. I met 4 new people on my run today.
Running in cooler weather, the sweat on your body evaporates faster, and with little to no humidity, you can run with little resistance, something the people at New Orleans Running and Walking Club are taking advantage of, while also making a friend or two.
Between combining the nicer, cooler weather with a good group atmosphere, a lot of people are able to run a little bit further, a little bit faster.
With the weather expected to cool down even more, runners of all skill levels could be coming outside again. Sam Lucio, PAC News.
After a bye week, the Saints were in action on Sunday taking on the Atlanta Falcons, and it didn't end well for the black and gold. The Saints didn't even have one touchdown as they lost to Atlanta 26-9. The Falcons' defense was on top of Drew Brees, sacking him 6 times. Both cornerback Marshawn Lattimore and guard Andres Pete left the game with injuries in the first half. Lattimore will be out due to strained hamstring and will be week to week. Looking forward, the Saints head to Tampa Bay this week to compete against Jameis Winston and the Buccaneers for the second time this season. They beat the Bucs in their last matchup in Week 5, and the Saints will hope to bounce back from their loss. And we're going to look forward to seeing exactly how the Saints can rebound here facing Tampa. They have 7 games left. They've only have 2 losses. So
2 losses. It's not too bad. But, the NFC is pretty competitive. As Aaron knows, celebrating that big win last night, huh?
Hometown team, Seahawks, nail-biter of a game.
It was. But, hey, Saints can get on the right track. Maybe we'll see them in the NFC Championship. Maybe.
Definitely. It would be a good game if we do.
And Newman High School spent a night on the field last Friday.
But not for the usual reasons. I'll have that story when we come back.
Hi. Hoping for a crisp breeze to help keep you alert. Oh, he took a sip of water too. That'll probably help. You were probably gonna turn down the radio too, so you could focus, right?
Probably okay isn't okay.
Right?
If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend.
I think the water line is what really drove it home. I blew on him.
It was senior nights for Newman's football team. Quarterback Arch Manning was the grandson of former Saint Archie Manning, broke the school record to get the win. But some of the student body was more focused on what they would sleep, where they would sleep last night. Here's on how Newman's Community Service Committee chose to raise awareness for the city's homeless kids.
The clock hit 0, and the Newman fans left campus to celebrate a shutout win. But a group of students got out their coats, pillows, and sleeping bags, eager to sleep on pieces of cardboard.
We sleep on it for the night, and it's obviously significant because it represents all we have for the night.
The student sleep out aimed at raising awareness for homelessness in New Orleans, especially among the city's youth.
You really see oh, that's a street that I live on. This is taking place right next to my home.
More than 50 students and 10 teachers decided to spend their evening learning about the realities of homelessness and how to best combat it.
It bonds our community, especially after a football game when the school spirit's high.
I'm here with just a jacket, and I can tell you I'm already shivering. But these kids, they're going to be out here all night, and it's all going to be for charity.
The Newman students did their part in raising
$22,000
for Covenant House to go towards programs that help kids without a place to live. And all the fundraising and organizing was all led by the students.
It's them taking the initiative to do this, and we're really, really, really proud of them.
Jim Kelly, the founder of Covenant House New Orleans, was impressed by the students' efforts.
The experiential learning part of this is really important. My hat is off to the students.
Just because the sleep out ended, it doesn't mean the fundraising did too. If you want to donate, visit covenanthouse.org.
And thanks for watching PAC News.
Have a great day.